Dear listeners, dear ladies and gentlemen, we are very happy to welcome Professor Hinanit Koltai as a guest with us today. Professor Koltai, could you tell more about the research that you are performing in your research laboratory, as well as the goal and the mission of your lab?
Absolutely. So thank you for your questions. In my lab, at the Volcani Institute in Israel, we work on medical cannabis. The questions that we ask in my lab are what compounds and what composition of compounds from cannabis are the ones that are most effective for the treatment of different medical conditions. We believe that by identification of these compounds and of the needed compositions, then we can improve treatments of patients. Our research, we believe, will result with information that will allow to better improve different products and even lead to strains. The research will be a base for new products. We believe this is in collaboration with companies, production companies, and will set the base for new cannabis strains that will be specific for the treatment of medical condition.
Thank you for this information. Diving deeper into the projects that you currently have, what disease areas, what medical applications you are currently focusing on?
We focus mainly on two medical indications. One is inflammation and another one is cancer. One of our projects is focused on ovarian cancer. This disease is not met by proper solutions today in medicine, and we think that cannabis is underexploited in terms of activity and potential to treat cancer. I have to say that first, we see cannabis not as a sole treatment, but rather as a combinatory treatment. And I will say a few words about that in a minute. Mm-hmm. And another point is that I have to say that any ability to say that cannabis is effective is dependent on clinical trials only. What we do in the lab, we can get indications, we can get information, but only clinical trials could prove efficacy. So in this respect of project, again, we ask what are the active compounds from cannabis that have anti-cancer activity against ovarian cancer, and what composition of compounds are the most important ones. And to answer that, what we do is we do extracts from cannabis flowers. We fractionate the extracts to have different combinations of compounds, and then we examine both chemical composition and biological activity. And just to say that we use different models, including cell lines, including cells from patients, cancer cells from patients, and in vivo studies as well in animal models.
So you work also with the primary culture of the cells. That's interesting.
Yes.
Cannabis is very interesting plant. On the one hand, some people believe that it has a lot of bad effects, but on the other hand, what the science sees that it has also anti-cancerous properties. Having this in vitro studies in lab, they allow you to stay on the path, what is the exact mechanism and how can we better add it to the treatment. What is your personal belief? Where will be the role of the molecules extracted from cannabis in the treatment of the cancer? Which biggest effect will it have when compounding with other drugs, and which drugs do you believe will be the most efficient here in combination?
Indeed, this is exactly the question that we ask ourselves. As said, cannabis cannot be a sole treatment, but rather it should be combined with other treatments and other therapies to have the most efficient treatment. We found that cannabis is working in synergy with PARP1 inhibitors like niraparib. And once cells are treated, and tumors as well, once they are treated with a combination of certain compounds from cannabis, it's not the full spectrum, but rather a certain fraction or a certain combination of compounds, and then in combination with niraparib, then the effect on the cells and on the tumor in vivo is much, much better. The next question that we asked is how does it work? How these components are working together? And to answer that, what we did, we sequenced the whole genome, the whole genes that are expressed in the different cell lines, and we found that hundreds of genes are differentially expressed in the two cell lines following the synergistic treatment of cannabis and niraparib. This allowed us, in combination with other methodologies, to identify the signaling pathways that are altered in this synergy. And just as an example, what we found that one of the pathways that are being altered and, as a matter of fact, repressed in its activity by the combination of cannabis and niraparib is the Wnt pathway. Just to say that the Wnt pathway is highly prominent in cancer states and in ovarian cancer as well. So this gives us a window to look into the activity of cannabis in combination with monotherapy in this case. And I would just say that this was published, it is online from last week or so in Molecules, this study. So anybody who wants to see more details or read more details can go into this publication. It is open access. And another point that I have to say is that we are examining activity of cannabis with additional compounds, additional chemotherapy, to find additional synergies if there are any.
Sure. Wnt pathway is very important. So how do you manage altogether these three branches? On the one hand, you have, I guess, chromatography, right? To extract the specific components and then accumulate them and then explore the effect of each molecule which is present in the cannabis extract. On the other hand, you also have the cell culture and the patient-derived cells, as well as clinical trials, as I understand. How do you manage these three branches, the chemical, the cell biology, as well as the clinical trials?
Our activity is being done, first, is being financed and supported by the company Canna Onc Research from the US, which was established to support this research on ovarian cancer. As a matter of fact, it was established by an ovarian cancer patient. Her name is Michelle Kendall, and she was the one that was interested in finding cannabis compounds that are most active against this disease. Based on this kind support, then we are able to, first of all, to have the different disciplines, both chemical analysis and biological analysis. cases. That's one. Two, we have collaborations with hospitals in Israel and with MDs that allow, for example, working on patients' primary cells. And then another very important aspect is the collaboration with companies such as Canna Onc Research and additional ones, because the companies are the ones to develop the products and the ones to conduct clinical trials. And then, as I said at the beginning, only success in clinical trials is the measure for efficacy.
Thank you so much for this information. What is the outlook of your research? As I understand, it is to generate more effect in the clinical trials and to find finally a combination that would be of the highest benefit to the patients. What would be the biggest outlook on the perspective of your research?
All of us are doing this research with a feel of destiny. We think that cannabis is underexploited in terms of medical activity, and refining of cannabis use can lead to much more than it is being used today. As such, developing, with, as said, with hospitals, with companies, developing an ability for cannabis to act anti-cancer is a mission for us. And with that, with at least the efforts to fight these diseases, we think that cannabis is definitely a very interesting and perhaps promising candidate.
Sure. Thank you so much. I believe that our current audience can consist of three groups of people. First, this is those who are interested to work with you, whether they are students, scientists, collaborators. Second, it is those who are patients. They're looking for information, how else can they find any other options for treatment, and point their doctor to them. And third, these are those who are investors who are seeking to invest into aspiring projects in the life science and medical fields. What message would you have to each of these three categories? Those who want to work with you, those who search for information, and those who are seeking to invest.
For the first group of those that might be interested in working with us, I would say that they are very much welcomed. Please contact me. Please put forth my email, and I'll be very happy to collaborate. We are very much open to collaborations with different entities, as said. For patients, I'm sorry, but I'm not a physician and not an MD, so I will never be able to give any medical advice. But nevertheless, I'm still very happy to share information, to send our publications openly. So I will be very happy again to be in touch. As for the third group of industrial bodies, yes, we are very much interested in this kind of collaboration. Again, we are not a manufacturing body, we are conducting the research. Industry has complementary activity to that of ours. And by development of products and clinical trials, then I believe that together we can get to our aim to have new cannabis-based products with much better medical activity, much improved.
Thank you so much. It is very aspiring. What do you think else our viewers should know? Is there anything else that one would need to add to that what already was said?
I think we have covered the main points and main issues. And again, we see that as our aim, as our destiny, to try and suggest, in collaboration with our collaborators, to try and suggest new cannabis-based treatments for patients.
Good. Thank you so much, Professor Koltai. It was a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.